IT workers, what's the most ridiculous, "You're IT, you have to fix this," request you've ever received? So a lady called to report her monitor wasn't working. After troubleshooting and asking her multiple times if everything was plugged in, she finally pipes up that the monitor doesn't have the light on. The monitor wasn't plugged in, and she wanted me to wake a guy up at 3 a.m. to do it because she was dressed too nicely to do it herself because she was preparing for a meeting at 6 a.m. I told her to do it herself because I was not able to wake up the on-call for that. She complained to our director, and he literally laughed at her and her reasoning for wanting the on-call sent out, and she is now banned from calling in. Man, don't you hate it when it's 3 a.m. and your monitor isn't plugged in, but you're dressed too nicely to do it yourself and nobody will come and help you? One of my first jobs, back in the 90s, I was senior IT admin for a medium-sized company, and on my day off, the CEO called. I had to get in because the mail wasn't working, and also the banking software didn't work. This CEO was primarily responsible for the financial department, so especially this last part was hurting him. When I came in, said CEO was really flaming, basically burning the entire IT department, of 3 people, as being incompetent, overpaid screw-ups, and all the loss of business revenue should come out of their pockets. So during this lovely tirade, I come in, and in a few seconds I realize we have a problem with the internet connection. Keep in mind, these were the 90s, so we had a dual ISDN connection and a dial-up modem connected to it. I run a few tests, and instead of common modem sounds, I hear some low-res voice on the line. I connect a regular phone to it, listen to it, and then give it to the CEO saying, "It's for you." After that, the CEO said nothing, and used his own mobile to manage the finances. What did the ISDN phone say? "Due to not paying your bloody bill, this line is disconnected. If you want to reinstate this service, you have to pay this amount." I went home after that with a very big grin and started looking for another job. Man, I think it's bad enough today on how clueless a lot of people are trying to get their internet to work, but I can't imagine how bad it was in the 90s when probably less than 1% knew what they were doing. I work in web development and maintenance. I got a call from a client who was absolutely livid when I told her that she could not take the hyperlinked text from her web page, transfer it over to their print ad, and still have it function like a link. You know, I'm really curious as to what they think is going to happen. If you have a printed out link, do you just touch the paper and it will make a web page open somewhere? I posted this before, but I was a remote tech and had a woman call me that wanted me to drive 6+ hours to her facility to turn on her computer because hitting the power button was not her job. You know, it really blows my mind that people like this actually get office jobs. Don't you have to at least know how to use a computer to be able to have a job on a computer? The power went out in our building, and the owner of the company wanted to know what we were doing to get the computers up. Just use your computer powers to give us power. I've somehow become the Apple guy at my work. We recently received a batch of brand new iPad Pros, and within a week, I received a repair request due to some screen malfunctioning. Turns out by screen malfunctioning, they meant completely destroyed, shattered, like it had been continuously hit with a hammer. The lady is giving vague explanations about what happened, talking about how it might have fallen off her desk onto the carpeted floor. But apparently this is something I can fix. She needed it for a meeting that afternoon. I had to explain that this isn't something we can fix, that I'll need to go through Apple for a replacement device. Shocking news, apparently. Yeah, I think some people have a bit too high of hopes when it comes to looking to fix things. I'm sure there's plenty of people that go on to a YouTube tutorial of how to fix a cracked screen, probably thinking, oh, there's probably just some secret that if I go into the settings and hit just the right buttons, it'll put the screen back together. So I get an email from a user one day. The numbers on my keyboard don't work. Alright, not a lot to go on, but probably easier to just give them a new keyboard. I look up the user to figure out where I need to go with a keyboard and see their past logins are only on a work laptop. Alright, better actually email them then. Just to confirm, all the other keys on the keyboard work, but not when you use the numbers on either the top row or the pad to the right? 2 days later, 9 a.m., the user responds, "Just the pad on the right. This is really annoying. Can you come take care of this quickly?" Alright, you took your sweet time for that reply, but maybe you were out or busy. If it's just the number pad, probably has numlock turned off. I look up the model number, definitely has a numlock key, so I emailed back at 9:15. It could just be the numlock is turned off. There should be a key called num, with a lock on it, just above the number pad. Could you press that first, then try to use the numbers, and then let me know the results? The next day, the user submits a ticket saying, "Numbers on keyboard don't work." Frustrated at this point, I sent another email saying, "Is this concerning the issue with the number pad? Were you able to try the numlock key? And if so, how did that turn out?" 2 days later, user sends a new email directly to me and CCs the CEO of our 10,000 employee company. The email says, "I've been trying to have this issue resolved for over a week now. Can somebody please come fix my laptop? The keyboard does not work. I just stare at my screen for a minute. Who the heck is this person? The system says they are just a CSR. Do they know the CEO? Have I really done anything wrong here? After the initial shock of self-doubt, I realized I'm totally fine, and this guy has got to be the biggest moron in the world. So I walk over to my boss's office and let him know the situation. He is just as dumbfounded when I mention the CCing the CEO part. Says he'll look into it, but for now, just go down and fix the issue. So I walk over to this guy's station, and he looks like he's 18. He tells me the same things I already knew from the emails. I lean over him, open a notepad, press a couple keys, and as I suspected, everything works fine, but the number pad is moving the cursor around. I press the numlock key and then type again. Numbers appearing. I just deadpan the guy. Need anything else? And he of course doesn't understand and just says, "No, but I can't believe it took you guys a week to figure that out." Knowing nothing good comes from this, I just say, "Have a good one," and leave. I get back to my office. My boss is laughing his butt off as I tell him what happened. He follows up with an email to the guy's supervisor, CCing their manager and myself as well, basically retelling the story in full. Last I heard, the manager chewed out the supervisor and the supervisor chewed out the CSR. Damned if I know if any idiot that thick learned anything though. Yeah, so I asked you a question and I wasn't paying attention for those 4 times you told me the answer, so what's taking you so long to answer me? I was working as a developer at a Navy contract. One morning a Navy captain walked up to my desk. "You're Roman?" I said, "Yes sir, how can I help you?" I got a virus in my email, so I forwarded it to you." But why?" "Well, I didn't want it in my inbox." But, was it supposed to go to somebody else?" I said, "You could have deleted it, or notified the IT guys across the hall who deal with that type of stuff, sir." He says, "Well, you're IT, right?" Sigh. Huh, that's a pretty good one I haven't heard before. It's like, oh man, there's a virus. I better pass it on to somebody else so that it's not in my possession anymore. I once had a person call into the IT desk because the soda machine stole their money. So are IT people just electronics whisperers? Can they just go up and talk to the machine and say, "All right, little vending machine, what can we do to get this all worked out?" I got a call to a remote plug on a radio, and we pushed the wire through a small vent in the cabinet because the wire was unsightly. I did this while 15 executives watched. None of them knew how to change a plug, and had never even seen the inside of one. But because it had a wire, it was IT's responsibility. See, I would say that it's annoying to have a job where everyone thinks that everything is your job, but it also seems like it'd be kinda cool because everyone just assumes that you're like the smartest person in the world because they have no idea what they're doing and they think that you know everything. One time somebody at a company asked me, "Why isn't the microwave working? You're in IT after all. Fix it." I thought they were joking, but after a bit of deliberation, they were either serious or very committed to the role. See what I just say, plenty of job security when you're the IT guy. I'm not IT, but I have a support product for 1-week intervals periodically. The worst call went like this. I answer the phone and say, "Hi, company name, off-hour support, can I help you?" "It's not working." Okay, what's not working?" The thing, it doesn't work at all." Okay, what are you trying to do when it errors?" "It just crashes when I try to use it." I wound up needing to walk her through every single step from opening our website, logging into the portal, which icon they click, opening Citrix, the utility they use within our program, etc., just to determine where the problem was occurring. Man, how did they even find your phone number if this was so hard for them? So back in my very early career, I had this customer named Mr. Windsor. He was this grumpy older guy, and everything was an emergency, and he was always yelling about some IT issue he was having. The most memorable is he called us livid over some site he was getting a forbidden error on. How dare we forbid him from going to his website? I had to patiently explain that there was an issue with that site and he'd have to contact the owner. About an hour later, he calls back demanding to speak to me personally. He got an email saying he had a fatal error. How dare we wish him to die? Finally figured out that he'd misspelled the email address and the fatal error was coming from the mail system. I just looked up the number to the web company and told him to call. I'd love to know how that conversation went. Anyway, a few days before Christmas, we got a phone call. It's Mr. Windsor. He is slurring his words and clearly been drinking something festive. He called to apologize for being a miserable old duffer and thanks us for being patient. Back to his usual miserable self after Christmas, of course. Interesting character. Yeah, you know, it can be really scary when you get a fatal error. I'm lucky to have survived a few of them. I had a doctor ask me why the state's death certificate database didn't work for him over the weekend. Mind you, I didn't work for the state. I worked for a practice he did contract work for. I told him they were probably offline for maintenance when he tried to log in, but that wasn't good enough. He insisted I got a hold of the state's IT department and find out what happened. The database was working just fine when he asked, by the way, as he brought the work site up on his iPad right in front of me. So a week goes by, and he's in my office again, and asks if I have any luck with the state IT department. I had completely forgotten about his absurd request, so I said the following. I say, as it turns out, I did. They told me some clod in their department decided to microwave a Hot Pocket on his lunch break, but accidentally left a fork in with it. The microwave blew a breaker that controlled the server room, knocked everything offline for a bit until they got it back up and running. Everything should be fine now. He was satisfied and walked away. Sometimes people don't care what the answer is, just as long as they get one. Well, I mean, who's he really gonna call to confirm the story, so I guess it works out. I work for an online college, and a student wanted me to change his username. It was Goatbugger. Okay, I don't really know whose job it is to change somebody's username, but why would anyone really care what their username is on something like that? It probably doesn't get seen by anybody. One place I worked, it was pretty much if it got electricity, it was IT's issue. We had to fix the water fountain that wouldn't stop running. We had to fix the coffee machine. Well, it sounds like you're learning a lot at these jobs. All sorts. It wasn't a demand, but I was once called to help get a fish out of a fish tank. It had decided to go on a suicide mission into the pumps, and I had to dismantle it to get it back out. It died. I'm regularly asked to help hang doors, fix locks, program thermostats and boilers, change time on clocks, even repair people's spectacles, shoes, and anything they carry that could break and look technical. I mean, even helping people with their broken down cars, or breaking into them when they lose their keys, fixing gates, all sorts. Some of it has electronics, which people assume is an IT specialism when it's not, but often it's just the hands-on nature that they're after. Most people realize it's not my job, but we have the tools, the eyesight, the fine hand control, the know-how, the ability to find manuals and tutorials quickly, and the work surfaces to do it on. Man, based on these stories, it almost sounds like everyone outside of the IT department in a lot of offices are just completely brain dead. I got a call the scanner in HR was broken. I thought to myself, we don't have a scanner in HR. I go to the office, the lady has Word open and is holding a document to the screen, hitting enter repeatedly. I thought no one would believe me, so I brought about 5 other techs along to corroborate. Well, these people are ingenuitive, they like to try things, I'll give them that, but they don't really like to try things that actually work. Early in my career, when I still did home user work, I had a client request an on-site because every time I go to get a beer, my computer crashes. It wouldn't crash when he went to the bathroom or anything, just when he went to get a beer. So I'm staring at this computer, and I can see that in his logs that there are crashes, but nothing that would help me understand what was causing it. Because it's not the beers. Finally, I'm grasping at straws and ask him to show me what he does when it crashes. He says, I told you, it crashes when I go get a beer. So I'm like, just humor me. He sits down in the chair, and then stands up, walks clear to the other side of the house, with a huge open living room thing with one of those weird sunken conversation pit things and heavy shag carpet, walks to his built-in mini fridge, opens it, grabs a beer, closes it, starts walking back and opens the beer, and the computer takes a crap. What the F? It took about 30 seconds of feeling like the world had gone mad and this dude was like some sort of weird beer magician when the light bulb came on. The mini fridge was probably on the same circuit as the PC. The compressor in the mini fridge was going bad and drawing too much from the circuit when it kicked in. Brownout. And the computer would crash. Dude was right all along. His computer would crash whenever he went to get a beer. Yeah, I guess it can be a problem when you are sitting at 99% power consumption, because all you gotta do is turn a light on and it would just kill the whole thing. Not me, and not the guy I knew, but someone he knew, a story from many years ago. So this other fellow is a photocopier serviceman. He gets a call from one of their clients about their photocopier not working. He goes through the short list with the person on the phone, including, it's plugged in, right? The client assures him everything is fine, so he grabs his stuff and heads to the client site. First thing he looks at when he gets to the copier is the power cord. Sure enough, it's in the socket, but not properly seated, so no juice. So with the client there, he stands over the copier in the right spot, lays his hand on top of the copier, and begins chanting. As he reaches the crescendo, out of sight of the client, he lifts his leg up and kicks the plug into the socket fully, and the copier comes to life. On the worksheet, in the area where he's supposed to describe what actions he took, he simply writes, I healed it, and has the client sign it. You know, it's pretty easy to seem like a magician when you are fixing someone's electronics and they have no idea how to do it, which happens to me a lot living in a basement apartment of my grandparents' house because they need help with stuff all the time. My absolute favorite was my grandpa called me saying, hey, can you come help me with something? So I'm like, all right, I go upstairs, and he's playing like a slideshow video on his laptop. And he's like, how do I get it to stop on one of the pictures? I just go up, I push the space bar, and then I walk away. It also doesn't help that my grandparents have kids that like to buy them electronics to make their life easier, but they don't really know how to use any of them. And so one day my grandpa calls me saying, hey, can you come help me with my TV? I go upstairs, he's watching a movie, and he's like, why is there music playing over this? Like, I can't hear the movie. Can you turn off the music? And I'm just thinking, like, that is kind of strange. I don't know why there's, like, multiple things going through one input. But I look around, I listen to where the sound is coming from, and I notice a little smart home device on the side, and I'm like, Google, stop. And the music stops. I don't know, almost all of the problems I've helped them fix has been just, like, 30 seconds tops. But anyways, I salute all of the IT workers out there. I feel your pain, and I'll see you next time.